Today's video is going to be covering the differences between stage 1 and stage 2 tuning on the F90 M5. When I got this shop car, I actually drove it around for maybe a month or so, leaving it standard, done a lot of data logging, a lot of dyno runs in it. Then I took it to stage 1, done the same again, drove it like that for a little while, and then eventually took the car to stage 2 because I really wanted to know what the exact differences were between all the levels of tuning and what I preferred and what I didn't like so much. Firstly, let's look at stage 1. The main advantage of going to stage 1 from stock, for example, is you're going to gain extra power, usually about 100 brake horsepower. So if we had one of these on the dyno, it's quite common to see them standard, making around 620 brake horsepower. Once they're tuned, it's quite common to see them making about 720 brake horsepower on the stage 1 tune. If we was to look at Dragy numbers, for example, the car standard are usually doing about 7 seconds. And once they've got the tune on, they're doing 6 seconds. Both of those are flat, by the way, so a 7.0 and a 6.0 respectively. The advantage of stage 1 over stock's not just the fact that you make more power, you can unlock the car in other ways as well. For example, the speed limiter, that can come off, so then you can take the car to much higher speeds. Maybe you've got a trip to Germany, you're going to be going on the Autobahn, or you want to go to one of these half-mile events, where you're going to find without taking that limiter off, you're not going to be able to go quite as fast. Other advantages are to do with the exhaust. So we can map it so that when you go into sport mode, the exhaust flaps are constantly open. So when you set your valves to be open and when you put it in sport mode standard, the valves do open up more, but they're not fully open at all times. When we map it, we have the ability to change that. Also, while we're on the subject of exhaust, one big thing with these new cars is the burbles. If you don't like the burbles, by mapping it, you can turn them off. And if you find that the burbles are not aggressive enough, you can also make them more aggressive, make them go on for longer, change the RPMs or the speed at which they occur. All of that is now changeable by mapping the car. So that's some of the differences from stage 1 to stock, but what about differences between stage 1 and stage 2? Some of the advantages you're going to have at stage 1 is no hardware modifications need to be done to the car. One major benefit of that is the car is still going to be an MOT emissions pass. You haven't messed around with the emission system, so you're not going to find that your MOTs are failure because of the catalytic converters are being removed or the OPFs are being removed or anything else that affects the emission system. With stage 1 leaving the exhaust system alone, another benefit can be if you don't want the car to be loud. If you like the car exactly as it sounds and you don't want it to be louder as you're driving around, stage 1 is going to leave it so that it's no louder. And that's going to be beneficial for people that maybe live in tight residential areas and they don't want the car to be producing that extra noise. Of course, when you go to stage 2, you can disable cold start, you can turn the valves so that they're closed as you fire it up, but they're still always going to be louder than when the car is stage 1. And finally, another advantage of the car being stage 1 and not stage 2, if you ever want to put the car back to standard, with it stage 1, you're not going to flash that ECU back to stock and then you're getting errors for anything being missing. It's literally just flash the car is back to standard and the tune or the remnants of the tune are no longer there. If the car's stage 2, you're going to need to put the catalytic converters in or revert that car physically back to how it was. Let's talk about stage 2. That's my favourite level of tuning, not just for this car, but for a lot of other cars as well, especially petrol ones. And when you go to stage 2, we can take out these restrictions. So there's actually 4 catalytic converters, and if you're in the UK with a 19 plus car, there's 2 OPFs as well. So that's 6 restrictions that are getting in the way of you making that stage 2 power. Let's compare the power difference between stage 1 and stage 2. As you already know, stage 1 is going to make around 720 brake, well stage 2 is going to make about 800 brake horsepower. So a stage 1 car will make 100 brake over stock, but a stage 2 car will make more like 180 brake over stock. Some of them, including this one, actually made 820 brake on its stage 2 map, meaning it got a solid 200 brake over standard power. When we talk about Dragy terms, that takes that 7-second car down to a 5.3. For longevity, we try to get them to sit around a 5.5, so we're not pushing the engine too much, but that just shows you the difference in power from getting a car that's doing 7 seconds to 5.5 is absolutely huge. We've seen some of our stage 2 cars racing really fast cars like Lamborghini Huracans and not just beating them, literally pulling away from them. So stage 2 is really, really powerful and surprises a lot of other cars. For me personally, the biggest difference between stage 1 and stage 2 is the extra power increase. When these cars are standard, I put my foot down, and it feels really, really quick up until about 100 mile an hour. Once I reach 100 mile an hour, I'm sort of thinking, oh, okay, I need a bit more than this. When the car's taken to stage 1, it has a lot more punch. When the car's taken to stage 2, it feels crazy. You know that 4-wheel drive system is being put to use when it is at stage 2. The other big difference between stage 1 and stage 2 is the noise. So for you guys that want to keep the car quiet, stage 1 is an advantage because it's going to sound the same as it did when it was stock. Maybe you'll get a little bit more induction noise, but that's about it. When the car goes to stage 2, I would say that it's roughly twice as loud as it is when everything in that exhaust system is left alone. For me, I think that these cars sound too quiet when they're standard, so by doing that, it sounds perfect in my ears. Now, we've all got a difference on what we prefer and what we don't prefer. I did actually go for a full exhaust system on this at one point, but I found with the cats out and the full system, it was just too loud for me personally. So now this car runs a 2018 exhaust system that never had any OPS from factory, and for me, that's the perfect setup. If you're watching this video wondering what stage 2 sounds like, well, I'm going to show you guys right now. One of the big differences between stage 1 and stage 2, when you take those catalytic converters out, the cold start becomes so much louder. Some customers come in and they love it. Some customers like myself don't like it. So I actually normally keep cold start turned off on this one, but it's something to be mindful of. If you want to keep cold start on and you want to go to stage 2, just know it's going to be loud. And also be mindful of the fact that the reason cold start is there is to warm up the cats. So if there are no cats, there's technically nothing to warm up anymore. There is a third option that comes in, and that is to change the cats that you've got over to sports cats. I personally don't recommend it, as I've seen others do it and they still fail their MOTs. So I would say either keep the car stage 1 and know that it's going to go through its MOTs and emissions, or take the car to stage 2 and know that technically the car is for off-road use only. When it comes to the job time, there's also a difference between stage 1 and stage 2. If we're doing a stage 1 job, we normally turn one of these around in roughly 3 hours. We like to do a lot of health checks on the car, dyno run it, make sure that it's running as it should be, and then we get into the tuning. If we're doing a stage 2 job, then that means that we're going to be doing physical modifications on the car as well, and that normally takes 4 or 5 hours on its own to do. So we normally find that if we're doing a stage 1 job, we look at it as maybe 3 hours to do, and if we're doing a stage 2 job, then we normally expect that to take around 6 hours. One common misconception that we get with these, and that is air filters. You do not need to change the air filters for stage 1 or stage 2. A lot of us do so because it sounds better, but when it actually comes to the power that you're making, it's not a necessity to start switching out intakes parts to hit the numbers that you want to hit. When tuning petrol BMWs, if there's going to be one gremlin that gets in the way, it's normally bad spark plugs. I don't really see it so much on F90 M5s because they're quite a new model, but on things like the M3 and 4 S55 or on the F10 M5, I'd say probably 10 to 20% of cars that come in need a new set of plugs when they're mapped. So on this particular car, if you've got healthy plugs, you can go to stage 1 or stage 2 on the stock plug. You do not need to uprate it, but if you are there and you're changing the plugs, it makes sense to bring it over to an NGK, and that is the 97506, and we gap it at 0.024 of an inch. And also interestingly, the plug is not just an aftermarket plug. So there's the NGK one, but here's the part number for that same plug direct from B&W. So you can put a 97506 in and buy the parts from B&W if you want to make sure that you're not getting, say for example, a counterfeit plug. For those of you that like numbers, myself included, here is the differences between the stage 1 and stage 2 and the times that I was getting when I run stage 1 and now what I'm getting whilst I'm stage 2. If you're trying to work out whether you want stage 1 or stage 2, hopefully today's video is going to help you with that. Just remember, stage 2 takes a little bit more money, a little bit more time to actually get it there, but you get more noise, you get more power, and you get more fun. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you own an F90 M5 or you're looking to own an M5, then have a look through my other videos because I cover lots of different subjects to do with these cars.